So he's Mark Littlewood. He's Director of Popular Conservatism and joins us to talk about the biggest stories of the day. A very good morning to you.
Hey Julia, great to be with you.
Great to see you. Now, you've been around Westminster many, many years. There's a lot of us on the show today. What do you make of where we are with Peter Mandelson in particular right now and the Tories' efforts to get all the documentation published around what the Prime Minister and his chief advisor, Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney, and anyone else knew about Peter Mandelson and his relationship and friendship and close ties with the already then convicted convicted paedophile billionaire Jeffrey Epstein. Do you think they're going to get all those documents? Should the government publish all those documents?
Great question. There's two separate things going on, really, aren't there, Julia? The first is what happens to Peter Mandelson. We can't call him. Can we call him Lord Mandelson still?
He's still a lord, and he can still get a good table in a restaurant.
Maybe in future he should be known as Peter Mountbatten Windsor. Shouldn't we just use that surname? I mean, what's going to happen to him? There's a criminal investigation. People can make a judgment about which laws they think are broken. Is he going to face criminal charges? We'll see. The real issue politically, beyond the end of Mandelson's public life, which has clearly come to a close, is what's the level of contagion here?
Yeah.
How much does this spread back to Starmer and McSweeney? What did the Prime Minister know? When? What judgment did he then make on the basis of that information? There's a further question as well, right? Was Keir Starmer potentially not sufficiently curious? So he may have been presented with a couple of sides of A4, but if he made a decision to appoint Mandelson as US ambassador on that, it might be argued that he should have asked some follow-up questions. Did he? You know, he could have asked for more information if he thought what in front of him was insufficient. I am hoping, but I fear I will be wrong, I am hoping that the PM will not be able to deflect at Prime Minister's questions just to say there's a criminal investigation, I can't say anything, because the question of what Starmer and McSweeney knew and when is not directly pertinent to that criminal investigation.
Well, no, exactly. And this is the thing. And you're quite right. I mean, we certainly expect that Kemi Badenoch will go on this. I think it would be very strange if she didn't. Yeah. And I think it would be an omission if she didn't. But then we know that we've got that what's called a humble address, this motion to basically try and get this information at 1 o'clock. Which is fascinating. The Prime Minister, with more than 400 MPs, apparently doesn't feel confident, given the anger on the backbenchers about this and the anger genuinely against Keir Starmer and hopelessness, that he's going to be able to defeat that Tory motion, even though they've got 100 odd MPs. Quite extraordinary. So he's going to basically say, well, yes, we will publish everything unless it, could damage national security and national interest. But of course, you can basically redact pretty much everything on that basis, and we've seen that happen before. But this is the thing, he will no doubt just say criminal investigation can't do it. But again, that's nothing to do with the decision to appoint him, is it?
Exactly right. Yeah, these are two very, very different things. What the Met Police come up with about whether, I don't know, Mandelson's broken the Official Secrets Act or insider trading or whatever, you'd need an expert lawyer to pick through what laws he may have broken. The decision to appoint is a discretionary political decision, completely out with whatever Metropolitan Police investigation might now be taking place into Mandelson. And I don't think the Prime Minister will be able to wriggle off this one. You've mentioned the anger on the backbenches. There's an awful lot of anger or despair at the performance of the Prime Minister. But there is outright hatred of Morgan McSweeney amongst a vast number of Labour backbenchers. So any Tory motion through this rather quaintly titled humble address may very well attract the support of Labour MPs who are determined that McSweeney must go. That's the problem that Starmer's got. Yeah. And you would think politically that if this starts to continue, well, if this continues to get worse for the Prime Minister, it's already started pretty appallingly, that McSweeney gets thrown under the bus.
But will that be enough? I'm not sure whether, again, Boris Johnson throwing, Dominic Cummings under the bus and others. I mean, these things have a habit to come back to haunt them, don't they? What is very interesting is, of course, there's also questions about the royal aspect of this. Andrew, look, he's dead of night. He leaves Royal Lodge. He's now, going to be, basically exiled to the Sandringham private estate of the King in Norfolk and hopefully out of the sight of cameras. I have a funny feeling he won't stay out of sight. You got to remember, He doesn't think he's really done anything wrong by being mates with this guy. Lots of questions of criminal investigation into him. But there's also one that ties him to Mandelson in terms of the allegations. And it is something my colleague Isabel Oakeshott has raised on air, that when he was the UK's trade envoy, that he is alleged to have passed documents, a Treasury document about the Icelandic financial crisis to a business tycoon who had just bought part of a collapsed Icelandic bank. Question marks that he, again, when appointed in this role, for God's sake, give the spare a job. We all know about him packing his golf clubs and going off and going on a jolly. We all know that when he was doing, pitch at the Palace, he was making sure that he was getting a cut. And it's all very unseemly. It's all very tacky. And the man has got apparently millions that are simply unexplainable, unless I say he, like Mandelson, has just had the most amazing luck with their ISAs over the years, far better than the rest of us have. They've been very good at their investments. I mean, there's just big question marks about both of them and their lifestyles and how they're funded. But if he, as a UK trade envoy, appointed, again, by government, by prime ministers over the years, if he did the same thing, I mean, he would likely be facing charges, would he not?
Yes, I mean, I would have thought, as I say, I'm not an expert lawyer, Julia, at all. I'm not a lawyer at all. But on the face of it, there seem to be questions here to answer with rather compelling evidence that would point to breaches in the criminal law.
Yep.
Now, the difference, however, between the way the House of Windsor has treated this and the Labour government has treated this was the King got ahead of the curve, right?
Yeah.
Any move against Mandelson has been extracted from the Prime Minister through gritted teeth. Whereas the King took the bold decision to completely strip Andrew of every title. He's housing him essentially as his brother, not as any form of royal. So that's just a sort of a piece of pity within the family, which I guess he's.
But also saves him going off and doing a book or something. Keep him quiet.
Yeah. And, imagine if Keir Starmer had acted in the same way vis-a-vis Peter Mandelson.
Yeah.
Instead, it's been that salami slicing of we will only give up what we're obliged to at any given time. Yeah. So you're even having sort of it suggested that he could stay in the House of Lords, for example. Yeah. Well, that blew up within hours. So the difference in approach, I think, is extraordinarily marked. The royal family have completely cut off Andrew. The Labour government is only cut off Mandelson by degrees under extreme pressure, public scrutiny and the release of public materials.
Very interesting. Well, no doubt I'd love to get people's reaction to that. 0344 499 1000. Let's also talk to you about where we are with the two-child benefit cap. This was something that was brought in by the Conservatives, basically saying, you know what, if you're choosing to have more than two children, you're not going to get, and again, this is not the 20-odd quid you get for each child, which you still get for each child you have, and every family gets it unless they are very high earners. This is the £3,500. I do keep stressing it's £3,500 a year per child that families who are on universal credit can get. Now, some of them will be working. Vast majority of those who've got 3, 4, 5, 6 kids who are going to be getting this money. Now the cap has been scrapped under Labour in that vote last night. Well, it's going through the law, but this was a key second reading vote. That basically they're going to get this extra £3,500 for these kids. Vast majority of these families are either not working or only one parent is working. And when that one parent is working, they're working part-time. They're working 16 hours a week. They're working 2 days a week when they've got 4, 5, 6 kids and the wife's not working. It's a miracle to understand why they can't make their own ends meet, isn't it? We're told by Labour, no, this is tackling child poverty. I'm of the view those parents could tackle their own children's poverty if they put them in it themselves. But Reform have been a bit confused. Nigel Farage was originally in favour of scrapping the cap, and then he said he would only scrap it if it was for British families and those who were both working, which I think was only about 3,500 families in total, because a huge number of the families who are getting this are actually of Bangladeshi or Pakistani origin or even nationality. But now Nigel Farage has dropped his support for doing that. He said he's going to keep the keep. He said he'd want to have the cap still in, but no one thought to tell Suella Braverman and Robert Jenrick last night, the two latest Reform MPs who accidentally voted with the Labour Party last night. What on earth's going on?
Yeah, that's right, isn't it? I mean, the Reform MPs split on this issue, and Reform does seem to have done a bit of a dance about what its exact position is. I mean, I'm very much with your inference, Julia, that the real long-term solution to getting people out of poverty is to get parents into work. And if you disincentivise...
Well, don't have 6 kids.
Yeah, well, I have 6 kids if you can afford them. But we are disincentivizing people working because taxes and contributions are going up, and we are incentivizing people sitting on welfare. And if you set up that incentive structure, that's what's going to happen. You're going to get more people on welfare, or at least working fewer hours. This 16-hour limit is completely extraordinary. So we've tilted the whole thing in that direction. And you might, I suppose, argue that a quick, handout now to poorer families does something on child poverty in a kind of sugar rush way. But if we want to actually tackle this problem over 5 or 10 years or over a generation, we've got to completely change the incentives of this. I think on Reform's position, they voted against on second reading. They're in favour, I think, of lifting the cap in certain circumstances, but not all, if I've understood it. So it would
well, it seems to have changed. We don't know. It seems to have changed in the last 24 hours.
Yeah. And I would think, look, I'm only assuming this from afar. Reform, I know they get some brickbats from about this. Kemi Badenoch's always very keen to point out when Nigel Farage hasn't voted on something in the House of Commons. I mean, I think Reform are acting rationally from their own perspective, that they've only got, 8 MPs. It's unlikely to make a big difference in a parliamentary division how they vote. So they're spending most of their time outside of the House of Parliament and Westminster rather than inside it. But yeah, I would agree in future. And it's probably Lee Anderson. He's the chief whip, isn't he?
Probably his mistake. Not apparently they were on these 2 MPs were on the phone desperately trying to find out what the actual policy was.
You would have thought the chief whip should be able to at least send out a text message to other people about which
Thank you. I'm going to leave it there. Mark Littlewood, Director of Public Conservatism. Thank you very much indeed. I was very, very worried for a few moments there, Claire Pierce, that he was going to veer into a by-election that's being held in Gorton and Denton, and if one candidate is mentioned, I have to read out. I've got a whole list. I'll hold it up the camera, those who are watching. I've got a whole list of people I have to read out. Seriously, just want to clarify to everybody, anybody who comes on this show and names a single candidate in that by-election or a party or anything, you're going to have to take the entire team out for dinner, and we get to choose a restaurant, and it's going to be in New York or Rio. Yeah, just so you know. Don't do it. Don't do it. I hate having to read out those lists of things.